Hello everyone, welcome to Startup Academy. And may the colors of Holi fill your heart with warmth, happiness, and endless joy. And may this Holi bring in lot of khush khabri in your life. And one of the best khush khabri will be like gaining that position of yours that you have in your mind. So a very, very, very happy and prosperous Holi to all of you from the Startup Academy. So with today's day or with today's lecture we would be covering up the sources of energy. That is the part of your geography lecture. So coming to our topic, that is geography, and happy Oli from our Startup Academy. So sorry. When we talk about the sources of energy plays important role, and relatable questions are also asked. It was asked, I suppose, in your 2021 was there, and 2022 or 2020 was there. So year after year questions have been postponed or proposed in front of you, and you are supposed to answer them. Therefore it holds a great importance. So in order to understand what is it, how are it, so what is sources of energy, these are the chapters that you have been studying since your childhood, say your class 5th, 4th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th. So you must be having a general source of idea what are the basic sources of energy. So the definition has not been given because that is actually the basic definition. If you want the definition, then I can provide you while providing you the notes on the Telegram channel. The link will be attached after this in the bio of this YouTube video, and you can just click on that link and you can join our Telegram channel where you can see all the videos are available, and also notes are available, fully exam oriented notes these are. And the session has okay, that video, I think you must be knowing that our online admission form has been released. If you want to enroll yourself, you can just get in enrolled, and we shall be preparing a video how you can get enrolled in that also. So that we will discuss. Coming back to the topic for today is sources of energy. Hmm, चलो ठीक है, सोर्सेज ऑफ एनर्जी बता देते हैं आपको। तो एग्जाम के लिए मार्क करके रखना दैट दिस चैप्टर इज क्वाइट इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर ऑल ऑफ यू। Alright. So when we talk about the sources of energy, we say that sources of energy. Sources of energy could be like two types of sources are there. Energy is something that we define in the physical term, something that we are getting in terms. So energy is basically like you define it as a physical quantity, and it is basic source. So the major source that we can first classify the sources of energy. So in order to classify the sources of energy, we have okay, sources of energy. When we talk about sources of energy, we need to discuss what basically energy mean. So when we talk about energy, energy is nothing but ability to do work. ठीक है, ability to do work is what you call energy. So everyone has that capability of doing work. This is basically the physical definition. So one more thing, important thing, is that it can be converted from one form to other. बस ये इंपॉर्टेंट याद रखना है, ठीक है। ओनली दीज टू पॉइंट्स विल बी मोर देन इनफ टू डिफाइन एनर्जी। देयरफॉर एनर्जी से क्वेश्चन रिलेटेड आते नहीं है, जो क्वेश्चन रिलेटेड आते हैं वो हम करेंगे अब। तो जो पहला सोर्स ऑफ एनर्जी की हम बात कर रहे थे, तो फर्स्ट सोर्स ऑफ एनर्जी बिकम्स योर renewable sources of energy, and here it comes non-renewable. फर्स्ट एंड सेकेंड, अगर रीन्यूएबल सोर्सेज की एनर्जी बात करते हैं, रीन्यूएबल सोर्सेज एनर्जी आपके वही सोर्सेज हो जाएंगे, दो सोर्सेज विच कैन बी रिप्रोड्यूस्ड after and time, with respect to time, after period you can use those sources of energy, so therefore we call them renewable sources of energy. Like never ending, never ending sources, और मेजरली नेवर एंडिंग में भी आपके आते हैं नेचुरल थिंग्स, ठीक है, could be used after time, period after period, they could be used. Like you can say sun energy, then we have sun, or we can say solar, then we have wind energy, and like these hydro energy, nuclear power energy, so many types of energies we have. And when we talk about the energy related to non-renewable sources of energy, so these type of energies are produced by the things that usually take a lot of time to form, and then they can be used. They are basically like examples you must be knowing. When we talk about examples, they are coal, they are petroleum, natural gas, and so on. Like diesel we have, coal we have, petroleum, graphite, all these things we have. So these are what non-renewable sources of energy. This is basic thing that you must have studied in your class 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th and all. So we will not be going back to further deep. So energy we have studied, that is ability to do work, and it can be converted from one form to another. That's why sources are there which are helping us to, this is the important thing. Why? Because there are sources which are helping us to convert things from one form to another form. So when we study about the sources of energy, we have the non-renewable and the renewable sources. Renewable sources, like they are never ending, they will not end with respect to time, and they will certainly come to an end with respect to time, as they are taking lot of years to form. One more thing, they will create less sort of pollution. They create less or no pollution, whereas these sources create pollution. That also we will talk about, like saving our environment related questions also, that is never asked, but it is important to discuss, because we can never predict UPSC question paper. So like this you can remember. Now when we come on, सेव करा दें, सेव करा देते हैं, अरे सेव So coming on to the sources of energy, we have studied the sources of energy, what actually energy means, and the broad term classification of energy also we have studied, that is renewable and non-renewable sources of energy. Coming on to, first we shall be discussing about the non-renewable sources of energy. They are not renewable. Why? Because they will take years and years, a lot of years to generate, and also to demolish themselves. Like if we say plastic, if plastic would be there, so it is believed that plastic would be consumed say in 100 years or 1000 years. So after thousands of years, the carbon of the plastic is still there in the environment. That's why it is recommended that one should use the paper bags, or you can say the cloth bag, instead of using the poly bags and polythenes. Coming on to the first non-renewable sources of energy, in which the first one is coal. When we talk about coal, we need to study what its location is, distribution is, and where we can find coal. So when we were discussing the major things regarding the minerals, there we have discussed that the major city or the major place that where we can find coal is none other than but a district in Jharkhand, that is Jharia. Then the global distribution, we see the globally its distribution, major part is in minor part is in India, and majorly it is there in Russia, is there, Australia, China, and USA. What is its geographical importance? When we talk about the geographical importance, is that it helps in industrial development. Whenever you are not aware what to write, you can just write about its industrial uses or clauses. Then we have its uses, where we can use it. Obviously, we have seen coal used basically to produce the amount of energy it releases on heating. When we will burn coal, lot amount of thermal energy is produced. Therefore, it is basically used in the thermal sectors, the industries where thermal heat is required. So, in those industries, it is majorly used. Then its advantages. First of all, since it is readily available, therefore it is quite cheap. How come we are saying it cheap? Though it is non-renewable source of energy, still we are calling it cheap. We are saying it cheap. It is so because, first of all, we see the people who are ironing things, or not things, obviously the clothes, they use the coal. So it must be cheap. That's why they are gaining profit out of ironing. Na? So it is cheap, like that you can remember. The disadvantages is, again, when we were discussing about the sources of energy, I told you that these basic things, the non-renewable sources of energy, are basically the emitters of pollutants inside the environment. Therefore that will gonna be their most probable disadvantage. Coming on to the पेट्रोलियम का सबसे ज्यादा यूज जो आप देख सकते हो, that use is nothing but its use is in moving out the, we can say, moving of vehicles. Large factories have installed large machinery so that work on that. Also we have power generators that usually work on petroleum. We have cars, vehicles, and huge machinery. So basically, in order to move the machines, we use petroleum and diesels. So where it is found, it is basically found in Gujarat. You can remember the basic term as a Gujarat. And in its global location is nothing but Arabia. So ये आपने बहुत टाइम से सुना होगा कि आप हमें पानी दे दो, हम आपको पेट्रोल दे देते, like that sort of barter system. Then its geographical importance is sedimentary basins and offshore drilling significance it upholds. What are its advantages? Energy density is high. It provides large amount of energy in the, even when used in small specific amount. Therefore, particular area is used. It is not dependent on the area though. So it depends directly on the mass, the amount you use, and more value you are getting. So less the value and more is the energy that is produced. That's why you see people burn themselves when they use petrol. Okay? Where they spill petrol upon themselves and then they burn themselves. What happens is, when there is transportation of petrol, there is an oil spill on the oceans while we are using the water transport system. We usually use water transport system in order to transport our oil from one place to another. What happens is, due to the movement in the waves and the water conditions are quite high or quite low, due to which the pressure conditions changes and the temperature changes, due to which the ship tends to let the oil flow out of it, due to which there is oil spill. When oil spill is there, we know that two immiscible liquids are there. One is water and another one is oil. Oil would be up high, water would be low down. Oil, being opaque system, will not allow water, will not allow air, will not allow sun's energy or any other quantity to impreach it and to let it seep inside the water. Therefore, the living organisms inside the water will not be getting certain fresh quantities and the water will get contaminated. So, oil spill is basically the most probable disadvantage one can ever face while transporting the oil from one place to another. Another dependence is oil shock can be there, geopolitical tensions are there. Coming on to the natural gas. Natural gas is basically found in the Gujarat. Again, Tripura and Gujarat are famous things for these particular things. The basic disadvantage is that we are using natural gas as methane. We call natural gas as methane, whose formula is CH4. So leakage problem of methane gas are very high, due to which it is a chemical quantity, and chemical inhalation, chemical exhalation can tend to cause of life, can tend to fate, and of course the property damage will also be there, but no damage is as is as big as the damage of life. So that is basic disadvantage. What are its advantages? Advantages is that emissions are less. When we will be using coal, the amount of emission of carbon dioxide or greenhouse gases, which will further lead to global warming, they are quite high. Whereas if we use methane gas, the natural gas system, if we use that, the emissions are not quite high. Then geographical importance is that transition of fuels is there and pipeline infrastructure could be used. We have now hydropower. These were the three basic systems that we can use for Non-renewable. Now coming on to the renewable. Hydropower. Hydro refers to water, and the nothing but power is nothing but a physical term. So the power generated via flowing of water from high to low system, that refers to your nothing but hydropower. So its location is, location कहाँ मिलेगी? Location will be where there are dams, there are canals, or there is certain sort of water flow system. Water is there, like झरना हो सकता है किसी भी तरीके का. तो waterfall system होना चाहिए in order to generate that power. Until and unless there would be height, there would be fall of water from great height, the power shall not be generated. Then we have its location would be like Tihri and Barkha Dam. So these dams are quite important. You need to learn about these. Then we have the geographical importance is basically nothing but geographical importance is that relief feature must be there. Until and unless there would be mountain, there would be a difference in height. You won't be able to let the water flow because nothing but the natural sources have their own natural means, not the man-made means. If we talk about its uses, so hydropower is basically used to generate the power. Power is nothing but the electricity. So hydropower is used to generate the power, electricity, sorry. Then irrigation, it can be used. Multi-purpose project, dams you must have heard about. Okay, so Barkhanangal Dam, all these dams are also there that that can be used in because they have been built for the multi-purpose things. And of course in irrigation and in order to control the flood rate flow, that is also important. When we talk about the advantages, major advantage is that it is the renewable source of energy. So that is the basic and the most advantageous thing one could ever think of. But if we talk about the disadvantages could be like ecological imbalance that could be created because of the use of non-renewable sources of energy. Like we are cutting the relief features, we are there is a moderation or alteration, or we can say the destruction actually in the climate system, due to which the water flow could be imbalanced. So that is not specifically entertained from the side of the nature. Coming on to the nuclear energy, when we talk about the nuclear energy means nuclear power plants would be there. So one of the basic thing where nuclear things or nuclear power plants are found is is Tarpur. Tarpur, the basic Indian plants or nuclear power plants that has been placed, major place is in Tarpur or Kallappam. The geographical importance is that energy security is there and huge amount of energy is produced. And where there would be nuclear power plants or nuclear stations in India, the surrounded area shall be barren. People will not be allowed to live over there, or the residual places shall be far away from all those places, because the the debris of that power plant uh, shall not result in the good, healthy, or we can say the good mental situations of the person who is living in the surroundings. Then basically where it is used for electrical purposes. Unlike Pakistan, we do not use it for the war, during the war. Then the advantages is obviously the nuclear. The term is in itself a big term. So when we talk about the nuclear, there are two terms related to that. One is nuclear fusion and another one is nuclear fission. When we talk about the fission, it basically refers to the bombing and blasting systems. When we refers to the fusion, it basically consists of the things that basically comprises the makes or adds up to the sun. So the major example of nuclear fusion, one and only ever seen on the earth, is nuclear fusion is sun, and for fission there are the bombs and everything. So we have the high output is there and low carbon emission is there. Radioactive waste is generated. Major of the major disadvantage that can ever be seen is that the generation of the radioactive waste, which is not at all good for the people surviving over there, working in that place, or are around that particular area. ठीक है, इसी से related there are so many diseases, so that also you must be knowing. Coming on to the solar energy, you can mark this solar energy as important because most of the time it is asked in an examination. So solar energy, as the word comes from itself, the sun, the energy received from the sun is known as solar energy. So many of us have seen the solar panels that entrap the sun's energy. They convert that chemical energy into the electrical energy, which is further transported to the people over there, or people have individual on individual basis also, they have installed these solar panels in order to move towards the green system, or in order to save the environment. So solar energy is basically found in the area where there is large amount of sun for the major part of the year. So where can be seen? It can be seen in Rajasthan, Gujarat and Andhra Pradesh, including Ladakh as well. So geographical importance, when we talk about geographical importance, says that it will be highly insulated, it will be highly useful where there would be high insulation of the system. High insulation could be seen only at the places where the sun's rays are quite high, the heat is intensive, so that large amount of heat is entrapped. If you are supplying the major amount of heat, it doesn't mean that all of the heat would be entrapped. It says that only few will be entrapped and much will be reflected. Therefore, large input would be there so that output could be large. Large insolation is required. Insolation means coming of the sun's rays to the earth's surface. Then uses are, again, you must be all aware what are the uses and advantages. One of the great advantages is that it is sustainable and it is abundant. Sustainable refers to if we are using it, other communities are not affected. Have you ever seen that if you are using the sunlight, the others cannot use it? No. If we are drying our clothes in the sun, it doesn't mean that our neighbors cannot, because we have entrapped all the sun. No. If we are drying, our neighbors can also dry at the same time. So that is what sustainable development means. So sustainability, development towards sustainability is the major goal of Atmanirbhar Bharat in India. Disadvantages is that storage problems are there. You cannot transport all these things. So that is the basic disadvantage, and output is also quite less. Coming on to the wind energy, when we talk about the wind energy is itself getting a name that wind is blowing, due to which the energy is there. Wind is blowing with high speed. That high speed is able to rotate the turbine, and the rotating turbine, it's producing its rotational motions, due to which the conversion of that wind energy has been done into the electrical energy, and hence the energy could be used for further conducting electricity, for running on the turbines, slow turbines running on the machines and all those things. So it is found at the places where there is high wind or high speed of wind is observed. So places like Tamil Nadu, Gujarat and Maharashtra and Karnataka are such places. So the one thing that you can find in common is Gujarat and Andhra Pradesh are getting major of the sources, or we can say the renewable sources of energy. Geographical importance is nothing but the high wind corridors are required and electricity generation is used. It is renewable and clean source of energy. But what happens is birds are not, it is not sustainable because birds are getting disturbed. Second thing, Second thing is seasonal variability is there. If the season is hot, the hot winds will blow, that is low, which have less speed as compared to the cool winds that blow from the Mediterranean region. So that is also the variation that could be seen. Then we come on to the biomass energy. Bio refers to the living organism, mass refers to the waste and energy converted or energy acquired from the leftover waste or the debris of the human beings or the bioorganisms is basically known as the biomass energy. Where it is found? It is basically found in the rural agriculture, where you must have seen the gobar gas is basically used for major purposes. So that is again the basic thing. But let me tell you that biogas emission also release carbon dioxide, which is again a global warming gas. So you cannot write it as a green or a clean fuel. Okay? But as compared to coal, petroleum, it is greener. Geographical importance is suppose decentralized rural energy. Rural system mein it is basically found, so that is one of its thing. It is used in biogas, cooking and electricity. Waste management is done. Most of the waste is being used. So best out of waste thing, if you ever have come across this competition in your schools, getting out best out of waste, so you would have told this, but tera hai durust hai anyway. Disadvantages, low efficiency is there and indoor pollution is there. What happens is sometimes people burn the gobar inside their room so that the heat could be maintained or heat could be entrapped in the surrounding region. What happens is they close every door window, due to which the carbon dioxide content increases and that is inhaled and oxygen content is degraded, or it is decreased, due to which there is a certain sort of we can say disease. A biological term is there for that disease. You can comment me down. Dysentery it is, okay, that you can comment me down. And once you get to inhale so much of carbon dioxide and there is less efficiency for oxygen or oxygenated blood in your body, so that makes the people meet their fate earlier than the age. Okay. Then we have the tidal and the geothermal energy. Tidal energy and geothermal energy. Tidal refers to energy coming from the tides, and geothermal, geo refers to heat. Oh, sorry, geo refers to the earth, or you can say the earth or land, and thermal refers to the heat. So tidal and geothermal energy are basically found near the gulfs. Like Gujarat is the basic region where the Gulf of Kutch and Gulf of Khambat are basically found, along with the Sundarbans Delta, because tidals are there. So only delta that can provide tidal energy is Sundarbans Delta. The is geothermal location is fine. Geographical importance says that location specific. Only where there would be high relief things would be there. There only such things would be there. Like delta could only be able to produce tidal energy instead of wind energy, because large amount of wind won't be there because of the change in the pressure, as the air is also there, water is also there. So Sundarban Delta is only able to produce the tidal sort of energy. Therefore, it is based on the relief features that the particular space have. So that is the basic advantage of having the geographical importance. And major sources of energy in India can be used or can be seen because of its geography. The geography of India has its own unique features and specialities, due to which we are able to see or we are able to use major sources of renewable energy. Then we have the disadvantages. Disadvantages is that only the sites, few sites are there. Secondly, installation costs are very high when we use solar panels. If you have installed either of them or either of the renewable sources of energy, you must be knowing what actually it cost. First of all, the site and then the installation cost. So think wisely. But nothing is more wise. So, no one can be more wiser than to think about the more sustainability and clean and green environment. Obviously, the environment comes first after the before the money as well. Okay, so this is basically the comparative table. So you can learn it, you can make your own languages, and this is how we come to an end of this chapter. So related questions shall be discussed in next class. Till then, stay blessed and thank you and happy Holi.
Startup Academy.